All right, today we're pulling back the curtain on something you use every single day, the internet. We're going to look at the secret languages that actually build the websites you visit. So how does it all work?
I mean, have you ever really thought about it? You type in an address, you hit enter, and bam, this gorgeous interactive site just appears. How in the world does your computer know that this is a title and that is a paragraph and, oh yeah, put a video right here?
Well, the answer is this special kind of secret code. And it's not what you'd think of as a typical programming language. It's what we call a markup language. Its job isn't to do math or run logic. Its entire purpose is to describe and give structure to content.
So let's start with the king of them all, the absolute bedrock, the skeleton of pretty much every single web page out there, and that's HTML.
HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and its main job really is to give content some structure, to tell the browser exactly how everything should be displayed. You can think of it like an architect's blueprint for a website.
So every HTML page is basically split into two big parts. First, you've got the head. This is all the behind-the-scenes stuff. You know, the page title you see up in the browser tab, other technical info for the browser. And then you've got the body. That's the main event. Everything you actually see on the page, the text, the images, the links, it all goes in the body.
And to organize all that stuff, HTML uses these little commands called tags, wrapped in angle brackets. So, for example, if you want a big headline, you use an H1 tag. A normal paragraph? Just wrap it in a P tag. You want to make text bold? Use a B tag. Italic, bullet points, even images, they all have their own simple tags. It's a pretty straightforward system for just telling the browser what's what. Simple, right?
Okay, so HTML is all about displaying stuff. But what if you don't care about how the information looks? What if you just need to describe some data so you can send it somewhere else? Well, for that, you need a totally different tool, XML.
And this is where we hit a really crucial difference. HTML is all about presentation. It uses its set of predefined tags, like H1, to display data. XML, on the other hand, that stands for Extensible Markup Language, it couldn't care less what the data looks like. It's focused on transportation. And here's the key. It does this with tags that you get to make up yourself.
Just look at this example. The tags you see here aren't standard web tags. They're custom: movie, title, year. The tags themselves are describing the data inside them. This makes the information totally self-contained and super easy to share between different computer systems, because the data literally describes itself. Now, for a little while, developers thought, hey, why not try to get the best of both worlds? And that thinking led to a short but pretty important phase in web development called XHTML. HTML was basically a reboot of HTML, but it forced developers to follow the super strict, very clean rules of XML. The idea was to make web code more reliable and standardized. It was a neat idea for sure, but it was about to get completely overshadowed by the next big thing. And that next big thing was HTML5. This is the upgrade that powers the rich, dynamic, media-filled web that we all use and take for granted today. You have to remember, before 2014, the web was, well, it was a little clunkier. If you wanted to watch a video or listen to some audio, you almost always needed to have an external plugin, like the infamous Adobe Flash. But then, in 2014, HTML5 officially landed, and it changed everything by just building all that media capability right into the language itself.
And I mean, the difference was like night and day. Putting a video on a website used to be this complex mess of code that relied on those clunky third-party plugins. With HTML5, it became one single beautiful native tag, video. That one little change made the web faster, way more secure, and it finally worked across all devices without needing any special software. But HTML5 was so much more than just media tags. It gave developers this entire new toolbox that makes websites feel more like apps. For instance, web forms got a whole lot smarter. You got inputs that could automatically check if an email address was valid or display helpful placeholder text. We also got native date pickers and number sliders, things that used to require a ton of extra code to build.
So, after this whole journey through web history, what's the big idea? How do we boil all this down?
It really just comes down to this. HTML's job is to display content. XML's job is to transport data, and HTML5 took that original foundation and evolved it to power all the modern apps and media we use. Display, transport, power. Each one has a clear, vital role in making the web work.
So now you know the secret language. This is the code that connects our entire digital world. So the only question left to ask is, what are you going to build with it?